So in this video, we're going to be talking about getting emotional in your business. And video is specifically for those of you who have got a business right now and you are frustrated, resentful, stuck, pissed off because all the energy and effort and time and money that you're pouring into your business right now doesn't seem to be generating the external results that you're looking for. And you've probably tried 1,001 different strategies out there, marketing, sales, you've got all the latest tech, you're smashing AI, and you're applying all these different things, but nothing seems to be changing the situation within your business. So I made this video for you. I've been about 17, 18 years in business now. I've been turning around the businesses for the last 8 years, specifically for businesses that I acquire. So I acquire distressed companies and figure out how to fix them, but also for clients and people that are like, yo, I'm stuck, can you give me a hand? And that's what I've been doing. And probably for about 6 of those years, I was a big proponent of hustle and grind, like figure it out, just keep trying stuff and keep throwing mud at the wall and see what sticks. And it's only been in the last couple of years that I've actually realized that there is a smarter way of doing this. And if you do tap into how you feel about stuff, you can get the outcome that you're looking for. And there's a whole concept or a whole context that goes into that statement. It's not just a case of going, yeah, feel your way to wealth and manifest and meditate your way to wealth. I'm a big fan of manifestation. I'm a big fan of meditation, but I'm also a big fan of action and strategy and going out there and actually delivering value to the world. But there's a harmony between those two things. There is a interconnection between how you think and how you feel and your external output in the way that you interact and take action. And we're going to be talking about both in this video. We'll see how much time we've got to talk about different concepts. But anyway, if you're struggling in business right now, fasten your seatbelts, give me 20 minutes, and let's get into some of the thinking and experience that sits behind this. So why do I think that you should get emotional about business? Let's start there. Well, the primary reason is that your customers are emotional. Your customer has an emotional problem. And I say that because you as the individual, you as the person, all people have two realities. And there's an external reality and there's an internal reality. And the external reality is actions, results, and interactions with other people around them. It's basically like the material world that you can touch and interact with and see, and everything that's perceived by your 5 senses. And then above that, you've got the internal world, which is everything that you can't perceive with your 5 senses. It's internal. So it's your beliefs, it's your identity, it's your thoughts, and most importantly, specifically for this video, it's your emotions. Your customer has both of those experiences. They have an external experience and they have an internal experience, as do you. But let's stick with your customer for a second. If you're in sales, you would have heard of the phrase, or if you're in business, you would have heard of this phrase, which is don't sell, when you're speaking to customers, don't sell logically, don't necessarily sell features, sell emotional benefits, sell to their emotional need. And so you've got these two kind of like paradigms that clash. You've got don't get emotionally in business, i.e. you, and then you've got, yeah, but sell to your customers in an emotional way, because that's ultimately what they're looking to solve. So you've got this clash, and I believe that it doesn't matter whether you're a customer, a consumer, or you're a creator, i.e. the business owner, you should be thinking in both paradigms. You should be thinking about your external experience, what action are you taking, and you should be thinking about your internal experience. how does it make you feel? And it's the combination of those two things that give you the reality in the middle. That is your combined reality, which also happens to be, which we probably won't talk about in this video, but it also happens to be a subjective reality. It's not objectively true. It's a combination of how you feel about the external world, and how you feel about something varies and changes. Subject for a topic for another day, but that is how your customer is going to be approaching their problem, their experience, their reality. So we need to then now look at the other side of the equation, which is you as the creator or the business owner. I like to use the word creator. And I like to use the word creator because money is just value. So if right now you are going, I want to make more money in my business, I want to have £1 million, I want to have, £1 million revenue business, 5, 10, 20, 100, I don't really care what the numbers are. But if you have a goal in mind, then you're like, yeah, I want to make £1 million in revenue, profit, whatever. £1 million is money. Money is value. And they sit on either side of this, what I refer to as the value exchange. And the value exchange is simply the relationship, the transaction of value that is exchanged between you as the creator and your customer or the consumer. And you as the creator, you provide a solution to the consumer's problem, and that solution makes them go from someone who is pretty unhappy, and it transforms them to someone that is much more happy, because their reality shifts from negative to positive. They have an external reality shift in terms of the actual physical results. And on the flip side, they then pay you money for the solution that you've provided. And that makes you feel better because you now have a greater amount of money. Everybody is both the consumer and the creator. You are both. The moment you get money, now you've got £1 million in cash, and now you need to go and expend that or exchange that with other creators out there to get your needs and your desires and your problems met. So you are both creator and consumer at any one time. And if you as the business owner right now, you are lacking in finances, you are lacking in cash, then the easy solution is to maximize or increase the amount of value that you're creating in the world. So it's my belief that your objective, everyone's objective, should be to maximize value, both in what you give and what you receive. So if you're maximizing both of those things, then you're going to exponentially increase your wealth. And at the same time, there has to be a balance between these two things, in the same way that if you end up spending more money than you create, you're consuming more than what you create, you're going to run out of cash. Equally, if you're not creating enough value, even though you might be able to drop your consumption down, if you're not creating enough value, again, you're going to run out of value in your pocket, money in your pocket. So in all cases, we need to maximize value. And the more money you have, it allows you, or the more value you provide to the world, that gives you the cash to then expand your emotional experience. So for me, the entire world that you are running off is based on an emotional experience. Why do you have a desire to do anything? It's because you perceive that it is going to give you an internal, emotional, positive reaction and you're going to go, wow, that was amazing. What do I want to do next? Maybe you do it again, and you do it again, and then you get, well, you know what, it's not quite giving me the emotional reaction that I had before. I want to go do something different. Great, you pivot again. So life is just a series of pivots, doing different things, interacting with the external world in different ways until giving you different emotional experiences. That is the reason. I don't know if it's the meaning of life necessarily, but it's the reason why we get out of bed and we move and we interact and we do stuff. So everything in the human experience boils down to that emotional interaction that you're having. And therefore, why is business any different? So if the consumer has both if the consumer has an internal and an external experience, then what's stopping you as the creator also having an internal and an external experience? I'll figure out my iPad in a minute. So you as the creator, you've got your internal and your external experience as well. And for me, this boils down to, well, you are a value creator. You're adding value to the world. Most likely you're going to want to do that based on the skills and the experiences that you have, that you find that come naturally to you. This is where I feel a lot of entrepreneurs, business people, a lot of people in general, go wrong, is that they falsely believe that, or they devalue the skills that they find easy to do, and they overvalue the skills that other people are good at, and therefore you go, wow, it's all right for them, they're really good at that, and I should try and be that person, I should try and get as good as they are. Whereas in reality, you've got your own experiences, your own skills, your own knowledge, your own passions, your own internal drive to do certain things, and you're able to do it really, really well. And it's actually, how do you maximize the value that you create through those things? So from an internal perspective, we've got, well, how do you think? How do you feel? And then and then in another way, you could go, well, what is my identity? So like, what value am I providing to the world? And that is, a summation of who you are basically, and what what you have the energy to do, and what you feel energized to do. If you've got a business right now, chances are you know what that is. So the whole identity piece, I believe, is always a constant calibration, because at the end of the day, as you go through different external experiences and you start to have different, you collect more data, you might pivot and you might change. And I feel like it's absolutely fine to change. I've changed a lot of times from a career perspective or an investment perspective, or what I've been interested in over the years. So give yourself the permission to change. But if you are specifically very clear on what value you want to provide to the world, then you can start looking at your external reality. And that's made up of, like, well, what do you do? What's your value proposition? Value proposition is like, what value are you providing to the world? That is like your box of value. You could break this down into, or you could expand this into actions and interactions. Like, how do you interact with others? Bearing in mind that if you want to make money, all value is exchanged between two humans at the end of the day. If humans didn't exist, and it was just you on your own, there would be no transaction to happen, and therefore money would be irrelevant. So money only exists because it's a mechanism of exchange, basically like universal bartering tool. So without humans, that wouldn't exist. Interactions as a result have to happen. This is why I hate on the sort of manifestation meditation community a little bit, even though I love it, is because if you just sit in your room meditating on your sofa praying that cash is going to fall through the ceiling, it's just not going to happen, because you're not interacting with the world. You're not creating a value exchange. So you must have value exchange happen. Hence why everything is a transaction. And if you're a business, well, regardless of who you are, you need to be a creator. So you're both creator and consumer. So you need to get out there, you need to interact. So there's values and then there's results. Like what actual results are you generating? And you could argue that this is measured in both money as well as like your external experience, whether that's cars or houses or whatever, like your lifestyle, yeah? So that's how it's measured. So why, as the entrepreneur, bearing in mind that you're having this internal and external experience, why would you completely discount? Why would you completely ignore your internal world? And why would you go, yeah, you know what, I should ignore my feelings and my thoughts. I should just keep my head down and hustle harder and outwork the problem. That doesn't make sense. Your 50% of your existence is internal. And therefore, we should be listening to that. And we should be looking at refining how you interpret your thoughts and emotions and use that as a guiding principle to help you actually steer in the right direction and to calibrate. And that's what we're going to be talking about next. So if you're anything like me, you're probably not very emotional. You're like a pretty, I don't know, straight laced, like good and bad is about as wide as my emotional spectrum gets. Maybe not strictly true, but I'm not an emotional person. Maybe it's a dude thing, I don't know. But I believe that you need to learn to, you can work off good and bad, but I think having better words or better calibrations for your feelings or your emotions gives you a more accurate navigation tool. So, you know what, let's draw a little title here. So, emotional navigation. I believe that if you don't have this, you are lost. And you have a tendency to get lost when it comes to business and strategy and adding value. So emotional navigation. And quite simply, it's just good and bad. Good and bad. And we want to think about this through two lenses. One is your ability to give value. And the second is your ability to receive value. And you want to have basically an answer in each of these quadrants. And that acts as your compass. And you need both because obviously I'll delete this in a second, but you need both because you are both a creator and a consumer at the same time. So we need to know how you feel when you're receiving value and how you feel when you're providing value. And that acts as your compass. Are you on track or off track? So for me, the negative words, it's way easier to start there. The emotions or the feelings that you associate to feeling bad. If you're receiving value, so let me ask you this question. If you go to a restaurant and you get a really bad meal, terrible food, terrible service, and it's really expensive, how would you feel? For me, the answer is I'd feel resentment. So one of my key words when it comes to receiving value is resentment. You might be angry, you might be bitter, and you might complain. So any of those four words, if you find yourself kind of feeling that / doing that, then chances are you're feeling that you are not receiving enough value for the work that you're doing, which means you either need to increase your prices or restructure the agreement with your consumer, the person that you're providing value from, or you might need to change the way in which you're providing value so that it balances the books a bit. Either way, you don't feel that it's fair. So that's the negative side when it comes to receiving value. Let's talk about the positive side. So flip that story on its head. You go to a restaurant, you have an incredible meal, service is great, and it's super cheap, really, really well priced. How would you feel? Well, for me, I would feel grateful, thankful, and I would appreciate it. and this is coming from someone that isn't particularly tuned into emotions, those ones come to mind really easily, primarily because I would be my actions, my behavior at the table at the point of receiving the bill and paying for it. I'd be like, thank you so much, that was incredible. I can't believe it's this good, for like the value, insane. Thank you. I'll leave you a positive review. How can I balance the energetic books? How I'll come back again, etc. So, in your behavior, am I complaining or am I thanking? And that gives you a good calibration tool. So when you're working with clients and they're paying you and you're receiving that value back or not, how do you feel about it? Are you resentful? Are you grateful? If we flick it over to the other side, so negative creating value, for me, I know that I'm doing it wrong when I'm frustrated. That is like my number one thing. I've got another thing that's more of an experience or more of a behavior, which is if I feel like I'm strangling the opportunity, I'm trying to force my will upon it and it's just not moving, that's when I know that I'm probably not doing it right. Strangling, stuck. What else could you feel? Dissatisfied. I think that's a bit of a weak one personally, but maybe you feel that as well. So if you're feeling frustrated or stuck, chances are you are not doing something correctly. You are misaligned, and we need to look at, well, what do you want instead, and what's the fastest activity to get you there? And we'll talk about that in a sec. And then obviously on the positive side, you've got well, for me, again, this is quite a personalized one, I think, which is satisfied, maybe fulfilled, effective, smashed it. It's like you're going to have to pick a word or find a word or tune into a word that works for you. Like the next time you absolutely nail a bit of work and you go, you know what, I could not have done that any better. What's the word that you would associate that? That's essentially like your guiding positive emotional state when it comes to you delivering value to the world. So if you do this, you'll end up with a compass, which essentially is your guiding direction. So you're on track, you're aligned versus misaligned when you are feeling satisfied with the work that you're giving and grateful for the value that you're receiving. And you're off track and you need to change something if you are frustrated or resentful. We need to do something different in that scenario. So this is like your emotional compass, and this is what I believe can help steer your business and help you make better decisions, guiding you towards delivering value in a more effective and more satisfying way, as well as making sure that you're returning or receiving the amount of money and the value back from your clients. So let me give you a couple of exercises that you guys can do. I give these to all my clients in normally when we first start working together, we basically do like a diagnostic session, sit down for a couple of hours, discuss all these things and map it all out on a table. And then you can kind of see where the biggest levers are that you need to change and support. So first things first, I want you guys doing a current reality audit. And all you're really asking in that is like both internally and externally, where are you now? So you could have, well, what results are you getting? That could be money, that could be clients, that could be clarity on your business, what's going well, what's not going well. So everything will give you both a positive experience as well as a negative experience, and your desire is to like map out what the good and the bad is. So let me just write that down: good, bad, audit, through the lens of both your internal world and your external world. Really important to do that. Once you've done that, you can start to take everything that's not going well, all of your poor metrics, both internally and externally. I'm not making enough money, I'm miserable, or this is super frustrating, or this isn't working, or whatever. And you can go, okay, well, where do you want to get to? So like, then we start doing destination mapping. Destination mapping. Which quite simply just going, what do you want? What do you want then? I find that question really interesting as a question for entrepreneurs, because if I was just to ask you that question, hey, what do you want? You have no idea. People find it so difficult to answer that question because it's such an open, expansive question. It's quite difficult to get clarity on that. And often what happens when you ask someone the question off the bat, what do you want? They'll actually just start telling you everything that they don't want. So this is why at the start of this process, I'm a big fan of going, well, what's not working? Tell me everything you fucking hate. Because once you know what you hate, you can then start to invert that, and you look at the contrast against the things that you don't want, and that helps you map the future about what you do want. If you were to ignore that, you're basically just smashing your head against the same brick wall going, I hate this, but I've been told that this is the thing that I need to do and eventually I'll break through it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Especially as the fact that, like, esoteric perspective, you have gifts to bring to the world that other people need and other people want to pay for, because they have these challenges and therefore they're waiting for you to go, yeah, I'm really good at this and I can help. They're waiting for you to do that. So by you like doing the wrong thing and being misaligned and smashing your head into a brick wall thinking that you should be, you know, trying to climb a tree as a fish, but you actually are destined to be a great swimmer, why would you spend all your time trying to climb a tree? You're not going to go anywhere. The moment you get into the water, you're going to smash it and you're going to deliver so much value and you're going to travel so far. So another reason why I think ignoring your emotions is pointless. So once you know what you don't want and what you really hate and what's not working, we start mapping what you do want. And this is just goal setting. Goal setting both strategically or externally. Well, what do you want from a monetary perspective? What do you want from a lifestyle perspective? Bearing in mind that those are both states of consumerism. £1 million a year, that's going to be your budget for your lifestyle. So we need to deliver more than £1 million worth of value. So part of that mapping process is like, what do you love to deliver? What is your value proposition to the world? If you already have a business, chances are you know what that is. If you don't have a business, you need to figure that out. If you're doing something right now that doesn't seem to be lighting you up anymore, then we need to potentially refine what your value proposition is, but we need to maximize the delivery of this. Once we have figured out what you want, then it's all about how do you go from A to B as effectively as possible. Bearing in mind that that transformation is a combination of your external world and your internal world, and we're basically creating these guidelines. So you don't know the fastest way to get from A to B. It's a complete mystery to you. But the way that you navigate from A to B is to basically bounce. Your way towards your destination. And these are like what I would refer to as like pivot points. And everything in the middle is like the path of least resistance, flow state, like the fastest way, the most effective way to get to your result. I call it path of least resistance. Everything outside of that is resistance. So these are the walls that you're basically like smashing your head against. You're like, this is not working. I should be doing something different. Well, that's your sign to pivot. And your emotional reaction gives you the signal. The resentment, the frustration gives you the signal that you need to change. So we need to get from A to B. How do we do that? We need to take massive action. So this is where I do become a bit of a hardcore entrepreneur with it's not hustle, it's output. Your goal is to maximize output. And really, I don't mean output. You know what? It's maximize. Here's what I really mean. Experimentation. I'm a massive proponent of experimenting. You don't know what the right answer is. Great, let's give something a go, collect the data, see what the results say, see how we feel, pivot or continue, carry on. So you need to maximize your experimentation. Once you know what you want, we can then look at experimentation, and the first thing in that process is path of least resistance. What does path of least resistance mean? It's the fastest, easiest action that produces the greatest value for you and your client or your consumers. That makes sense? So path of least resistance. What is the fastest, easiest, greatest value action that you can take that's going to maximize value for you and your client? And that becomes your next step. Bearing in mind that that might be quite a big thing, in which case we need to break it down into like this action right now. And you will be able to identify what that action is, because you should, from your list of likes and dislikes, you should have your, what number are we on? 5. You should have your prioritized list of dislikes. 1, 2, 3, etc. And your goal is to go, well, which is the priority right now, and what is the immediate action that I can take against that priority, and take it as far as you can. Hopefully take it as far until it actually becomes a positive, and then you address the next one, and that becomes positive too, and you keep working through it. Obviously, everything you're judging through both the internal and the external lens. So when you're looking at this, you're going, well, when I'm experimenting and taking action, how does it feel? How does it feel? And what result did I get? Why do I think that feeling is a better calibration than results? Is typically because results take a while to show. If you relate this to the gym, you can go to a gym session, you can absolutely smash it. You look in the mirror later, nothing's perceptively changed. So you're looking at that going, well, I didn't get any results, so it can't be working. Whereas in reality, you leave the gym, your endorphins are pumping, you feel like you achieved something, you overcame your lethargy, you got the blood flowing, you met some people, you pushed yourself. You're going to feel good after leaving the gym. And therefore, the calibration strategy should be, how does it make you feel afterwards? And what are the results that it generated afterwards, after a significant period of time? Results may not show. So repeated action may only show you a result 5, 10, 20 times in the future, providing that you still feel good about it. Keep going. So this again becomes the calibration tool. How do you feel about your experience? It's got nothing to do with the external result. The result will show up if you continue to deliver on the things that make you feel good, specifically after you do it. If you listen to your brain before you do stuff, it will lie to you 10 times out of 10. It's only after you've done the activity, i.e. after the experiment. So after the action or the interaction, only afterwards do you get the data. You can't collect data before the event. That's just your brain playing tricks on you. And it might mean that you miss the gym. Cool, so your brain won, nah, don't go to the gym today, it's not going to feel good. Lay out all your excuses. Let's say you don't go to the gym. How do you feel afterwards? You feel pretty shit about it. There's shame, there's guilt, there's, I should have done that, I didn't go to the gym. You feel like you have negative feeling. You generally feel bad. Guilt and shame are really good calibration feelings for me. If I start finding myself feeling guilt or shame, I'm like, there's something I did wrong there and I need to recalibrate it. So it's just a case of we pivot, we take a different action, we do a different thing. I'll leave you on this. So like you're auditing your business, both how you feel about it and obviously the results it's generating itself. Your business, you can simplify it, or I like to simplify it into 3 areas. You've got marketing, you've got agreement, which is basically sales. That is the relationship between you and your consumer, the agreement between creator and consumer. Sales is another way of looking at it. And then delivery. They are the 3 areas of your business that you should be looking to do this audit in. So quite simply, what is going well? What's not going well? What do you feel good about? What do you feel bad about? And do that for each one, each area. And you'll end up with a list of things that you should double down in. So anything that's going well, cool, great. Continue, accelerate, double down on that. But you also have a list of anything that's not going well and makes you feel crap. And those are the ones that you should be recalibrating. I even believe that anything that is going well but makes you feel bad, you should look to recalibrate or at least evolve that as well, because it's not sustainable. Business is about sustaining that transaction, that interaction with your consumer. You are going to be a creator of value for the rest of your life. And I say that because you are also going to be a consumer of value for the rest of your life. You need to eat, you need a roof over your head, you want to enjoy the rest of your life until the day that you die. And therefore you're going to be consuming value. That means that you need to be providing value on the other side of that. So what are you going to be doing to do that? Bearing in mind that you need to do it for the rest of your life. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Therefore, if you're doing stuff you don't enjoy or you don't want to be doing, then you're not going to have the ability to sustain it. And whilst you might put a load of effort in and reach this glorious milestone of selling your business for 10 million, great, now you've got a fixed amount of money and you're going to play golf for the rest of your days and just consume and consume and consume until you run out of money or die? Maybe, but I think deep down most people have a much better drive to deliver more to the world and to leave it in a better state than that they found it. So that requires delivering value, and hence why I'm doing this video. Anyway, that's the thing that I'm going to leave you on. In fact, I'll leave you with a question, which is, what is the one thing that frustrates you about your business the most right now? And if you can just answer that question and get clarity on that one thing, then we can start to shine light on it and figure out what the changes are, what the experiments are, what the different actions and interactions that we need to be doing to actually improve your business. So right now, what is your number one frustration? Once you guys get clarity on that number one frustration, then you can dig into that in more depth. And if you've enjoyed this, then stick around. I'm going to be doing a load more videos in time on various different subjects. Everything's going to be business focused. Everything's going to be a combination of internal beliefs and identity and external strategy and interactions and actions. So if you run a business, it's not going quite the way that you want it to, or you've reached a level of growth and you're stuck, or wherever you're at, I'm here for business owners. I love business. I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with strategy. I'm obsessed with mindset and identity and stuff like that. So anyway, I'll leave it there. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll probably link another video at the end of this as well. So click here or subscribe or do whatever. If you've made it this far, leave me a little melon emoji in the comments. Love a melon emoji. And I'll see you in the next vid. See you later, guys.